Thanks everybody, and welcome to another edition of San Diego Real Estate Market Update. We have April 2020. SDCIA is the largest investor club on Southern California, providing valuable information and education, especially in those times, to investors. Please check it out, sdcia.com, become a member and be part of the family. My name is Lenska. I'm an investor and a real estate broker, helping investors as well as buyers and home sellers make educated decisions. I also offer events on Meetup and provide weekly phone calls, so join me in any of my events. I love box greeting and live long and prosper, and that should be the theme that we're all under today. So this will be very special. It was also a very challenging edition to produce. As we know, information comes hard, comes fast, and changes on a daily basis. So normally we look at stats, graphs, and numbers and take the emotions out of it. Personally, I had a little hard time doing this market update, as you cannot be totally emotionally distant from what is happening. So first of all, I wish you all well and stay healthy. And I think we flattened the curve, so that's the good news. So let's try to be ahead of the curve, okay? I'm not doing any market timing or fortune telling. I just really want you to build your fortunes. And that's what we're going to look at. So this theme of this market update is go big and stay home. We look at different real estate data points to see where the market is at and where it might be heading. So we look at sales and inventory numbers, interest rates, employment data, HPSI, which is the home purchasing sentiment by Fannie Mae. We look at the home builder sentiment, affordability, and NODs, notice of default, and trust deeds. So how are these sales and inventory numbers? I'm sure everybody wants to know, how did we close out March 2020? First, look at where we were in February, the key statistics year over year. We were practically up with the median home price. We were down in active listings. Days on market were fast pace of 34 days. Pending sales were actually up and sold listings were slightly up. So we were firing on all cylinders. And we still had multiple offers. We had cash transactions. We had above list price offers, especially on fixers. So how do we look in March? Still, we're looking at a median home price of $593,500, which is still year over year a 6.7% increase. The median home price for detached was at $680,000, up 8%, and a median home price for attached was at $452,810, also up at 7.8%. What is to notice here that it slowed down from last month, where we usually increase because we have a spring selling season, but this one is not your typical spring selling season. So the active listings, combined detached and attached, were actually down 30%. Days on market still selling, actually quicker selling in March. Yes, quicker. Pending sales were down 21% and sold listings were slightly down. Still, for March, it was a fast-paced, great month. So obviously we're just 2 or 3 weeks into the crisis, still holding the price per square foot at $430. So just some additional info, because this is where we look at the average percent of original price to closed. See that it was up 99.2%. So months over inventory based on pending sales. So we're looking at pending sales, and we were at 2.5 months in March 2019. Okay, in February we were about 1.6, and so we inched up just a little bit. We're at 1.7. Still, we did not build a lot of inventory. Also, active listings are down 36.7% because we're only at 2,800 for only detached. But usually what happens in springtime, right, we go up, and right now we're leveling off. So that could be an indication that the market will change. New listings down, obviously. Again, same story here. Normally we shoot up during the spring season. Now we're actually taking a breather. You probably all know about the mortgage interest rates. Here we have some current one, 30-year fixed at 3.375. We were at 4.25 last year. VA, 30-year fixed at 3% and a 15-year fixed at 2.625. So incredible rates at historic lows. Now, employment data. I know you're saying we all know how many filed for unemployment, but my gist of this market update will let you know that before the coronavirus hit, we did see a slowdown in the economy, a slowdown in employment, and certainly a slowdown in home prices. So as we see, the job openings already fell. Also, the hires slowed down, and the quits leveled off, and layoffs hasn't had a big change overall. So a graph is worth 10 million jobs. So right now, if you follow that line, we had a straight shot up to 10 million 10 million filed for unemployment. And remember, look at the lows of the unemployment right here, how you can signal the lowest point in employment, a coming recession. So obviously with all the unemployment, the question is to pay or not to pay rent. So this is the latest stat from the rent payment tracker that collected about 13.4 million, data collected from 13.4 million apartment units. So the National Family Housing Council found a 12% point decrease in the share of apartment households that paid rent through April 5th. In the first review of the effect of the COVID-19 outbreak on rent payments, so the tracker found 69% of households had paid their rent by April 5th, which actually is not bad. So this compares to about 81% that had paid their March 5th, 2020 rent, and an 82% that had paid by the same time last year. Also to pay or not to pay mortgage. So the Mortgage Bankers Association released the data on Tuesday for March, and it wasn't pretty, obviously. Mortgage forbearance requests soared 12,070%, but remember, we came from such a low that this number is the percentage I wouldn't get hung up at, but that how many people called in and that you were on hold for over 2 hours to talk to your servicer. So Ginnie Mae, which provides FHA and V loans, had the highest volume of loans in forbearance at 4.25%. Ginnie Mae loans are typically provided to people with lower credit scores and have lower down payments. So Mr. Cooper is one of the larger services. They placed already 86,000 borrowers in forbearance plans. Okay, and Ocwen issued about 27,500 forbearances. So, forbearance is probably not a bad deal, which I applaud to have placed, but it will give consumers some relief in the moment and probably will relieve some economic stress. However, it's pretty much kicking the can down the road for people that are struggling to make ends meet to begin with, and by forcing them to pay back any delayed bills right after the grace period. So hopefully those plans include, and if you're one of them to negotiate with your bank, I would like to ask to have it added to the loan balance, and which will increase your payment, your monthly payment slightly, okay, and not trying to come up with it after the grace period, which would have not solved anything. So here the mortgage servicers, obviously they have their own little issue. If you're obviously government backed, then you have the government support, but if you're a non-bank mortgager or mortgage servicer, then your liquidity and your ability to pay the investors looks a little bit different. So they were not able to obviously pass a stress test, and just by looking what the stock prices is doing to those service companies tells you that they're probably a little bit in trouble. Okay, and also just to the last sentences here, that Moody's Analytics chief economist Mark Zandi estimated that roughly 15 million households, about 30% of Americans with home loans, could miss payment if the economy remains dormant through the summer or longer. Spend big or take homes. So here's what's, if you're comparing this crisis to the 2007 or 8 crisis, or I should say 8 and 9 crisis. So we had the bailouts at about $500 billion. We had unemployment about 8%. We had a social media participation of about 26%, and it probably hit about maybe like 30 or 25 countries. So now what I call the global recession, the COVID-19, you can see how much bailouts or payouts we already agreed upon. You can see how unemployment will probably reach 17–18%, and the social media activity tripled to about now 76%, and it probably affects over 100 countries. So if we take the emotions out and just look by the increase of the graphs, I think we will come to grips that what this whole shutdown will mean for us, for Main Street, and also for the real estate market. 7, and climb up. Corporations took out debt in order to buy back their shares. It did not change the fundamentals of a company. So here we go. Here's another graph. The gray ones are the recessions, and you guys can see that corporate debt goes up and as a percentage of GDP. Too big to fail? Yes, we have $14.15 trillion in debt and climbing. Besides the mortgage debt, probably is a good debt, but remember, people refinanced already and might do even more with those attractive rates right now. And what will happen if then the prices drop? Auto loans, we know, already have seen some delinquency. Credit card debt, so far everybody paid their mortgage or has forbearance, but is probably able to pay some of the other bills. So share of debt becoming seriously delinquent, and that was before the crisis started. Okay, so we have seen that the student loans were paying or were delinquent. The yellow line is the credit cards that went up. The blue line are the auto loans, and I have mentioned that many times in my updates. Also, the countries around the world have a lot of debt, including China's Great Wall of Debt right behind Japan. But let's say, who is the big winner? The big winner are the alcohol sales. Now, I'm just saying sales. This doesn't mean consumptions. If you're like me, I did go stack up on a few bottles of wine. I also heard they work well for hand washing. So here we go. Just read that I'm giving up alcohol for a month. Or it reads different if you say, wait, sorry, that came out wrong. I'm giving up alcohol for a month. All right, so Nielsen research shows alcohol beverages sales increased in March. Sales were up by 55% in the third week of March compared to the same week last year. So in 40 states and Washington, D.C., liquor stores are considered an essential business. So were the pot shops. So I think some of us kind of try to make better of the situation and by partying at home. Let's take a look at the Home Purchase Sentiment Index by Fannie Mae. That number is a number that has 6 components, and the components are if it's a good time to buy or sell, if home prices go up, if mortgage rates will go up or down, and obviously it's all about the jobs and income. So this month, the HPSI decreased by 11.7 points and down to 80.8 in March. So it practically is at the lowest level. So here are the highlights of the individual numbers. As we can see that 5 of the 6 components are down, but if you're looking at the mortgage rate outlook, that more people think that mortgage rates will go down, so that might also slow down. It could mean actually a negative outlook because people might stall their sales and sitting on the sidelines. And we certainly know that selling conditions practically are less attractive. And that is a pretty big number. The job loss concerns increased by 18 points. And the change in household income, obviously, people don't think that they will make more money. So the attitudes about the current home selling environment pretty much deteriorated markedly, and it's the lowest level also since January 2017. So we have a pretty pessimistic view of a home price, and that might be the first indication for prices are going down. But the home builders are still fairly optimistic, even so these numbers were taken before March 4th, so I don't want to spend a lot of time on it because it went down slightly, but the buyer's traffic due to all the COVID-19 new procedures making it harder to show homes or even get to the homes. So is the big bet on real estate in this crisis. So I was looking back and saying, how did the median home price do in the last recession? And I was looking at the 1929-30 depression, and a house was worth $6,000, and then it was worth $3,900 in 1932, which was about a 35% drop. So by 1933, 40 to 50% of mortgages were in default. So you can say that, but all the other recessions, median home price did not dip down. And then obviously we had what it's called the housing crisis. And just FYI, in that housing crisis, the price was $500,000 in June 2007 and fell straight down to January 2009 at $275,000. So we're talking in less than 2 years, which took us to recover from about 2009 to about 2017, so about 8 years to recover. And it wouldn't be a market update to also bring a little bit of fun in your house. So here my go big and stay home recommendation for some affordable entertainment. As you notice, we skipped the affordability because obviously that's to be determined in the future months to come. So here's some affordable entertainment for you guys. Obviously a website, bigger pockets. I recommend check out the movie The Big Short by a book from Michael Lewis. Very interesting. Big Shifts Ahead from John Burns. And if you want to party, there's a music video, Big Booty by Jennifer Lopez. Also, don't forget to join me on one of my educational events, which is not a field trip. It's right now a Zoom call, but I'll keep you educated and we'll also have a little bit more input on the COVID-19 crisis and what I see in the local real estate market with investors. And there we are. I know I went too long, but thanks for listening. I hope it will help you make an educated and wise decision. I'm only a click or call away if you want to discuss any of your personal real estate ideas or transactions, and I always appreciate referrals. Thank you. Stay healthy and live long and prosper.